We are back and checking in with Captain Phil Kirk at the Park City Police Department. Captain Kirk, thanks for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So I'd love to hear how things are going at the police department. How is the staff handling things? Are they healthy? Are they doing well with everything that's expected of them right now?
Well, I'm going to have to knock on wood a little bit. Fortunately, our officers and their families are doing well with not having to deal with, on a personal level, the virus. But it's affected our calls for service. I mean, they're fortunately down, and we're doing some things like compliance checks at parks and trailheads to make sure people are complying with the social distancing orders. Uh, and for the most part, everything's going well. We haven't had to actually cite or arrest anybody for any violations. Most people are very good about doing it on their own, and if they need to be reminded, the warning seems to work.
That is good to hear. So if you find someone who is violating some of these health orders, you right now are issuing a warning. Has that been enough?
Yeah, it has been, fortunately. Very few violations to begin with. Some of them are reported by community members, and we check them out. And just merely talking to the individual seems to work very well in getting them to comply. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding of what the ordinance was, or I mean, if the order was.
What other things have changed during this time? What else has happening that's maybe a bit unusual because of where we're at right now as a community?
Well, schools are out, and that presents a real challenge for kids to. We have a school resource officer that's trying to help the school faculty to get in contact with some of these kids that are not doing the distance learning remotely. Um, and we're also getting, kids that want to celebrate their birthdays and how they're going to go about doing that. And good thing is we can help with that by we have a drive-by birthday type of response that we have worked out with the Summit County Sheriff's Office, and that's been pretty cool and really uplifting to the spirits of not only the young people that take advantage of that, but also for us. It's a good positive interaction for us in the community, and we love doing those and encourage people to call into Lieutenant Wright at the Summit County Sheriff's Office if they'd like to participate in that program.
I've seen several of these on social media where the police drive by, they have their sirens on, they're celebrating the child or the adult or the 90-year-old. It's been a lot of fun. How many of these have you done, and what are some other advantages of being in neighborhoods during this time doing these parades?
Well, you're right. We are out patrolling the neighborhoods, not only looking for compliance of the social distancing, but also to make sure that we have a presence in the community and that we interact with the public. It's been terrific. We've had probably, I don't know, it started out slow, probably two or so a day. Now I think we're up to 4, 5, 6 sometimes of those, and keeps us a little busy. We try to get all the officers that are available at least to come in and participate in that. And again, it's a good experience for them too.
Yes, it's actually been really enjoyable to see that, an uplifting thing during this tough time. I'm curious, across the country, I've heard that domestic violence calls are up. Have you noticed that here in our community?
I think we've seen maybe a slight uptick in the number of domestic violence cases, but nothing, real significant that causes any alarm. For the most part, calls for service have been significantly down. We did have a rash of vehicle burglaries over in the area of east side of Prospector neighborhood, and that was a little over a week ago. And the good news is that our investigators have identified the suspects in the process of making the arrest. So I can't give more information right now, but people need to be very careful that even in normal circumstances to secure their vehicles and not have valuables visible in their vehicles and left unlocked. And that's primarily what was happening in these cases. And we had a rash of them. And again, good news is that we're close to making arrests.
With the community and the town, it feels very quiet, almost like a ghost town. Really not a lot of activity. Does that provide an opportunity for criminals, or are you really seeing criminal activity way down because of this?
Well, probably both. We're fortunate that it hasn't, other than the vehicle burglaries, we haven't seen an uptick in the level of crime. Uh, it's eerily quiet in town, and we're looking forward to things getting back to normal or near normal, and then when it can in the future. But for right now, um, we're doing a lot of compliance checks and a lot of presence out there in the community, and doing anything positive we can to interact with the public.
And speaking of that interaction, what precautions is the police department taking when they do go out on these calls?
No, good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, just like any worker that's essential worker right now, we have masks and we have sanitizing equipment for our officers, and we're taking extra precautions, especially if somebody that we're responding to is suspected of having the virus. So we're taking, and primarily getting the assistance of the fire department, because they have the full suits, and we do too. But the fire department's been extremely helpful in dealing with those individuals that need some medical care that have the virus.
Well, Captain Kirk, we really appreciate everything that police department is doing during this difficult time, really putting your lives on the line to help our community. How can we help the police department and the first responders?
Well, the primary thing I can tell you is if you see something, say something. So if you see something looks suspicious, it might be, a compliance with the social distancing or whatever it might be. Give us a call, and we certainly have time to, an extra time now to check things out. And then if you want a positive thing for your child, like a birthday drive-by, we'd love to be involved in that, and give us a call for that too. But taking all the normal precautions that we need to in this challenging times is always a good idea, and letting us know if there's anything that we can do to help, and anything that looks suspicious in their neighborhood.
Any needs of the department as we head during this essential time? Of course, the police department is absolutely essential. Anything specific, any specific needs that we can help out with?
Oh, you got me there. I will say that we've had a great outpouring of concern for our officers. We've had people bring by. One gentleman has been bringing by food on a regular basis for our officers that are required to work, and this is a critical time for them. And I don't know of any other real needs that we have that I can think of off the top of my head, but just everybody doing their best to ride this out. And we're looking forward to when things get opened up, or in phases probably. But in the meantime, comply with the restrictions, the requirements, and hopefully we'll survive this as best we can.
Well, thank you so much, Captain Kirk, for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. It's good to hear that the police department is doing well. And again, thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you in person soon. All right, we have more coming up right after this. We'll be right back.